Good morning and welcome to the October 22nd, 2025 regular meeting of the Town of Bethlehem Industrial Development Agency. We are meeting as we do every month here at Bethlehem Town Hall. In addition to being webcast, this is a public meeting and the public is welcome to attend for any reason whatsoever. We have a busy agenda this morning, and so I will begin with a roll call to determine that we have a quorum. And we'll go around the room. We have some guests with us this morning. We'll ask you to introduce yourselves briefly, and then we will move on to the first order of business. So I'll start. My name is Victoria Storrs. I'm the chair of the Industrial Development Agency. We'll start on my right this morning.
Good morning, John McPhillips, Chief Business and Financial Officer for the Bethlehem Central School District.
Brianne Connor, Senior Economic Developer for Town of Bethlehem and staff to the IDA.
Andrew Costa, Principal and Civil Engineer with CPL out of Rochester.
I'm David Van Leuven. I'm the Town Supervisor and I'm a visitor.
Joaquin Hope, member of the IDA.
Victor Franco, board member.
Rob Leslie, Director of Planning for the town.
Ted DeBarbieri, board member.
Matt Moses with Parker Damon, representing Bethlehem Energy Center.
Georgette Stephens-Altamari, board member.
Chris Welch, board member.
Richard Cotlow, board member.
Catherine Hedgeman, Executive Director and Agency Counsel.
All 7 members are present. We have a quorum, and it is now 8:05 or 8:06, depending on which clock you're looking at, and this meeting is called to order. Our first item of business is to approve the minutes from our September 10th, 2025 regular meeting. These have been circulated and reviewed. Are there any questions or comments before I ask a vote to approve? Right, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. Second. All in favor of approving the minutes of September 10th? Aye. Any opposing or abstaining? Okay, the minutes are approved with all 7 members voting yes. We'll ask quickly for the financial report. Our Chief Financial Officer is not here.
He's online.
He's online.
Yes.
Okay, well then.
Good morning.
ahead,
I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get where I'm going in time to hook up, but I did.
Okay.
I didn't want Dick to have to work any harder than he does every day anyway. Send it down. So our September 30th, 2025 financial statements, statement of net assets, we have $1,856,077.30 in the bank. Prepaid expenses of $1,312.50, giving us total assets of $1,857,389.80. Our accrued expenses are $17,916.65, leaving us with a net asset position of $1,839,473.15. How we got there, our statement of revenue and expenses, fee income is $181,137.98. Contractual expenses are $125,902.09. Business and economic development, $43,474.97. Giving us total expenses of $169,377.06. Giving us regular income of $11,760.92 plus $28,288.99 of interest, gives us a net for the year of $40,049.91. When we compare that to budget, we're under budget on both of our income streams for reasons we know and have under control. Our expenses were a little bit under the business expense, the contractual expenses and business and economic development. So all told, we're under our expenses, a little under our income. And as a result, we're about $8,310 variance on our budget to actual. Are there any questions on the September financials?
Thank you, Al. We see no questions, so I want to move on to new business. Now, we have 2 very important items that are not pertaining to the organization of the IDA and our regular meetings and such. The first is we have guests from CPL, update on the industrial study, the industrial site study. And we also we'll be asking the board to make a final vote on whether to approve the financial assistance to GB2 New York, also known as Bethlehem Energy. We have a guest there pertaining to that matter as well. Having learned that 2 of our members will be leaving the meeting on the early side, what I want to make sure is that we have sufficient time to cover both of those important matters. And therefore, what I'm going to do is ask Kate to deliver her report. We can come back to anything if we need more discussion. But forgive me, did we give CPL a time frame that we wanted their presentation in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or were we open-ended?
No, yeah.
I can do as quick as possible. A lot of it's recap.
Do you think, would 30 minutes be sufficient?
Oh, yeah. Fine.
Okay, and that will leave us 30 minutes for discussion and coming up to a vote on Bethlehem Energy before we lose Victor. Kate, what do you think?
I prefer to do GB2 first. I
Okay.
don't want to lose people. 'Cause
Okay,
this is an important vote and we need everybody voting.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, then I will let Kate begin her executive director's report
I'm
and
gonna
then we'll
skip
move.
that. And
Okay,
we're gonna
we'll
do
move
this,
right
yeah.
to item number 5, project GB2 New York, and I'm turning that over to Kate for
You
the
are?
introduction
Okay.
anyway.
All right. All right, so before you is the resolution to finally approve the pilot agreement with Bethlehem Energy Center. The school district and the library, as you know, we're still discussing as of last week the split of the tax proceeds from the pilot. That has been resolved. It was a good resolution. We're happy about it. I think the parties are also happy about it. And so today before you is the final approval resolution for the pilot. You'll notice in your materials, we put another column on the pilot table to show exactly what the library would get for that tax payment. And the library, has reviewed that and agreed to it as well. So if you have any questions, we can certainly open it up for discussion or comments or anything like that. Chris and Dick and Victoria and I sat down with the library and the school district last week. We had a great meeting, so I think going forward, we'll really be in a good spot. Questions, concerns, comments?
I'm just mindful of, we don't have a library rep here. We have a school district which passes on to the library. So just, thank you for that report. That sounds great. Seems like everything's in order. I guess without a library rep here, we're acknowledging that's what the agreement is, and that sounds great. I wouldn't expect them to necessarily be here.
We had a terrific meeting with the library, with the IDA serving as a moderator.
Yeah.
And, because we don't know that board, we spent some time talking about what the IDA does, the fact that we meet here, what the members do, the fact that we're open to the public in the public meetings. And we're certainly hopeful that over time we will periodically see those representatives. Our school district representative is here and has been, as you may not know, for many meetings over the past year. And we're certainly grateful for his presence. It's not required for him to be here or to speak about this. This is strictly IDA business. So really, Mr. McPhillip is here as a courtesy and a partner.
The library's attorney last night did see our resolution and has confirmed that it accurately reflects the agreement.
Thank you.
Just, again, I sent a note. Thank you very much. I think you both did a great job. Great job. And look, the library did have 3 representatives at the meeting. So they had a board member, executive director, and legal counsel. So they were well represented. So, and it was a well-run, like Kate and Victoria.
Anything else?
Does the board feel comfortable taking the vote to approve the financial assistance package per this resolution and have Kate work with council to proceed toward closing by the end of this year? All right, well, I'll accept a motion to
So
approve
moved.
the resolution. Thank you, Dick. A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstaining or disapproving? All right,
Who was the second?
Chris, that was Chris. The resolution to award the financial assistance and move toward closing is passed unanimously by the board. Thank you very much. Thank you for much time and discussion and the way everyone on the board really rolled up their sleeves to understand this unique project and really think through its benefits to the town and how we could help. And thank you, Matt, who had nothing to say today, but.
No, I will say this, that the company very much appreciates the support of the IDA and the tax jurisdictions to facilitate this investment in the facility. It really modernizes the facility to bring it forward to what the state will allow to operate. And so it's a good outcome for all of us, I think.
I would direct anyone listening to look back at prior minutes. We had an economic impact analysis of these investments performed by an outside party, Silverlode. That's in the minutes, I believe, of our September meeting, and it is a significant economic benefit to the town and the region with the jobs and the investment, which was very, very important to the board as we considered this package.
May have to apply for a job there. Rate of pay was good.
Okay, well then, next order of business.
Did we get a seeker resolution as well, or?
Oh, yes, we do. Yes, thank you. We actually should have done that one first, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and.
Okay, so I will let you introduce
Okay.
the secret resolution.
All right. So, as part of our review of all pilots, we have to deal with the state environmental review law. And this action in particular pursuant to the statute is an unlisted action. It's a category that they assign to the different actions. We were the only agency on this one. There was no planning board approval or anything else needed. In the resolution, it does go through, what we looked at. GB2 has provided us with the short form, environmental form, no significant, environmental impacts. The project is really inside the plant. It's not, an expansion or outside the plant at all. So we were able to keep it for a short form. In addition to that, there's an attachment, if you have your materials, that we are issuing a negative declaration, meaning that there's no impact on the environment for this project. And I'm happy to take any questions and or comments, or else you can make a motion to approve.
Just for the record, I think it'll improve things with the new equipment.
The efficiency, sure.
Efficiency.
Yeah.
I'm happy to make a motion.
Second? Second. All in favor of approving the seeker resolution?
Aye.
Any abstentions or nays? Okay, the seeker resolution is approved unanimously by all board members. Do we need to reapprove the
No,
others?
that's okay.
We're
That's all
good.
right. That's
Okay. Then, since it is 8:15, let's return to the regular agenda under new business and begin again with the executive director report.
I said 8:10.
Yeah. Not too much to report this time. I've been a little bit busy on this deal and a couple other things that are going on. One thing I did want to do is I really think for the first quarter next year, it's going to be very difficult to get through anything with the holidays, and we've got to close this deal. We really should get a governance committee, schedule, and also a marketing committee. Hopefully, even if it's in mid to late January, I'm fine with that, but let's confer, offline and get the calendar set. That way, we don't have to do all of them, but at least the first one or two, so that we can move forward with some of the things that we wanted to. Sometimes time just gets away from you, and the end of the year is going to be just brutal for everybody, I'm sure. So I'll make a note to follow up, and we can talk about that.
We do have an audit committee meeting at 7:45 right before our next
Yep.
board meeting, November. I don't know who else is on the audit committee, but it'll just be to review the engagement with the auditor and the process. We can ask any questions at that time about the process, but that's 7:45 for the next board meeting.
Okay, yeah, when I notice the meeting, I'll remind
Thank you.
whoever's on that. We also discussed moving the usual fourth Wednesday date. I'm going to be doing the calendar for next year. And I think what you decided, but correct me if I'm wrong, is that we would keep Wednesday, but it would be, I think, the first week, did we say? The second week? Okay, so the second Wednesday of the month. Just because it provides us with time to, if we're trying to close a deal or, we're waiting on other people or presentations to really get it teed up. So once we get to the end of the month, if we miss that deadline, it's a long time to, to wait to have to get it back on the agenda. So if you're okay with the second Wednesday, I'll do the 26th calendar with that. There's always a little bit of wiggle room with November and December because of the way the holidays fall. So that might not be perfect, on that second Wednesday, but we'll see what we can pull together for that. So I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page for that.
The other thing I was going to mention with that is that the April and February vacations,
Mhm.
we may have to move for those two.
Yes.
So
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look at it, and what I'll do in November, I'll have proposed, and then let's all look at it and see that it works appropriately.
Can't the school change the vacations?
Yeah, it's my shot.
Sure, we're gonna see the teachers collective bargaining.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I won't be here.
Okay.
It doesn't conflict with everything.
Let's see, I think that's it. I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to talk about, Brianne. No, okay, I just wanted to give you, okay, all right. All right, so that's it for me right now.
Okay, well, then we will invite Andrew Kosa from CPL to give an update on the industrial site study.
All right, so again, my name is Andrew Kosa. I'm with CPL out of Rochester. I believe our last update was about a year ago. So we've been working with Rob and Brianne to kind of get this over the finish line. So I'm going to give a quick update of where we've been, the next steps we have to take, and then our internal deadline. And we've kind of made this commitment is to wrap up by the end of the year. I know you said the end of the year is a great time to be busy, so but that's where we're at. So originally we had 3 tasks outlined in our proposal. We had project initiation, parcel inventory, and community engagement. So just a quick summary. Anything highlighted in green here is done. So we've obviously had our kickoff meeting. We reviewed several parcels. I think it was up to 185 parcels at one point. We've gone through all the past plan reviews, all the utility reviews. The only thing remaining on our to-do list from task 1 is the site tours. And our goal, hopefully before it gets too cold here in the next couple of weeks, we'll be in touch with Brianne to schedule those site visits. I envision probably done over 2 half days, so we'll probably travel in, get a couple site visits done the first day, stay over, finish up the site visits on the next day, and then we'll have everything we need to wrap this up. So task 2, our parcel inventory, and I'll show this to you in a minute, but all of our baseline data is done. We've characterized all the parcels, listed out utility information. All the other GIS mapping has been done. Again, I'll show you this in a minute. The only thing really remaining is, and we've actually started some of this, conceptual site plans on the selected sites. So we have that to finish. And then what we do is a buildable acreage analysis at the end. So we take all the constraints on the site, steep slopes, wetlands, archaeologically sensitive areas, we carve that out based on our concept plans, and then we come up with an actual developable acreage for each parcel. Summary of findings, that's just our report. We have all the outline done. We're just waiting to plug in the information. So once we have the site visits and wrap up that documentation, the rest of this will flow pretty smoothly. So again, GIS map overview, it's actually 195 parcels. So the last time, I think you remember, we had yellow, red, green. So we modified, we kind of redid our spreadsheets and GIS model to go with the light, medium, and dark green. So light being a low probability of being developed, medium, development is possible with some improvements, and then the dark green is high probability, which just means you either have all your utilities right there at the frontage, so there's less development cost to make that development of that parcel happen. Here's our spreadsheet overview again, color coded to match the GIS model, so we updated all of this. We have all the relevant information in here: parcel number, owner, frontage, utilities, all categorized, and this will be turned over to the town at the end, so that you have that to refer back to. Then what we did is we narrowed it down to potential parcels. Again, we came up with a ranking system, scale of 1 to 20, points awarded for utility access, topography, zoning, and any knowledge of the status of the parcel that we took into consideration. So the rankings there are on the left-hand side. Just a note, if the parcel is already in site plan review or flagged for redevelopment, we did not rank those parcels. We wanted to focus on green sites or potentially green sites. So we grouped those parcels by area. So we had originally 3 groups. Working with Gran, we identified 2 more groups, so now we have 5 groups of parcels that we're considering. So we have West Yard, Fiera Bush, Preble Road. Is it Pictway? I keep saying Pictway Road, is that right? Okay. And Bridge Street, and then the Riverboat parcel. Again, there were other parcels that we reviewed, but if they were in redevelopment or within Vista Tech Park or under site plan review, we know those parcels are slated for development. So we did not want to waste our time reevaluating those parcels because we know they're set up for development. So the next steps here, what we have to finish off. So for all, I forget how many parcels exactly. It might be, there's 5 groups, but there's 13
parcels.
Yeah. So for each area, what we've done, and we set up our mapping. We had all the existing condition mapping done, so that takes into account all your steep slopes, topography, wetlands, archaeological sensitive areas, overlaid the utilities. All that hard work is now done. So our next steps are, and again, we've started this, we've put together some conceptual plans to understand how much square footage, where the road access would be, where the utilities would come from. And then we really have to put boots on the ground and meet with the property owners. And I know Brian and Rob have been in touch with those property owners, so I think over the next couple of weeks, we can get those scheduled and wrap this up.
I can just, I know folks down there walking the room, this is Mike Waldmeyer. Mike is one of those property owners, so he's here to see the presentation.
Perfect. So I want to put some basic information in here, and I can send this presentation out after the meeting if that's helpful.
Yeah, as long as Kate has it.
Yep. Sorry, I'm actually connected to the internet. So on West Yard, we just noted close proximity to water, sewer, gas, electric. One of the prime considerations for development. Without utilities, it's really hard to develop a parcel. There are some archaeological sensitive areas in the area. A lot of the areas have poorly draining soils. As you you probably are aware. It doesn't mean that we can't develop there, it's just we have to make design considerations during construction to put in under drains and things that would naturally drain the site. Fairbush Road parcels, again, good access to utilities. There may be, as you probably already know, more offsite improvements to access sewer, public sewer. Sorry. We've noted some steep slopes and each parcel has pros and cons. And that's what we're trying to do now, is weigh those pros and cons with the wetland areas, the steep slopes, and figure out where development can occur. Preble Road, again, more of the same, more offsite improvements for sewer. Some parcels are partially developed, which leads itself to more development. And then we'll continue that process. So the two new areas we've also taken a look at, Victorway Road and Bridge Street, limited wetlands. There's some pockets of steep slopes, but not as much as some of the other parcels, so we think we're in good shape there. Sewer and gas probably require more extensive improvements in that area. River Road, again, water's available in sewer, seems to be a consistent theme. So all in all, we have a pretty good inventory of the parcels, and we're ready to really get this done. I know there's been some delay, and with John leaving, Brian coming on board, there's a little bit of delay, and then unfortunately, when you were ready to go, we had 3 major deadlines to get to construction, but now we're geared up for this and ready to finish this off by the end of the year. So I'd like to we'll be in touch after this meeting, schedule those site visits. And like I said, we're really putting concept plans together, talking with property owners, putting a full report together. My envision is, obviously it's up to the town and IDA, but to have a report that has cost estimates and improvements required, so that we're in a good position to submit for Fast New York funding or other funding, so that we can really look at pushing the shovel-ready envelope here and developing those parcels and getting them ready for marketing.
If I could just make a comment. Andrew, I think and part of the expectations with the report is that as we see what the limitations of these sites are, for example, we heard sewer is lacking.
Yes.
That means some of these parcels are really only going to be open to certain industries.
Correct.
Whereas if we were to add sewer, we might add additional opportunities for new types of industry, right? So the report is going to identify that to say, hey, here's what you can get today, but if you invest in infrastructure, I'll just use sewer as the flag here. We open ourselves up to other industries, right? So that'll kind of inform us as far as next steps. If we have a certain site that we think is really good, maybe we need to do some investment in the infrastructure there to make it more attractive.
Yes, and just based on past experience and some of the sewer, water, electricity uses with the type of development that's siting on that parcel, we can kind of guide that process. For example, sewer, if we have warehousing, I'm just throwing that an example. We know it's low sewer, low water usage. We might be able to get away with a larger septic system. And if water's available, it makes it more susceptible to development. However, if we're going to go after a food manufacturer or food processing, that's water and sewer intensive uses. We have to make sure the area can support that, and then that'll kind of guide the type of use at each group of parcels.
So, Andrew, I want to thank you and everyone at CPL for paying, and I know this is why we hired engineers, but especially you're talking this morning about the attention you've paid to the geological aspects of our parcels. You mentioned poorly drained soils. Those of us with basements in town are certainly familiar with that. And also the steep slopes. Again, I'm watching some subsidence in my neighborhood. And I think that is particularly important. We've just had a lot in the news lately about some concerns, parcels along Delaware Avenue. 2 businesses are shut temporarily while the town tries to understand possible ramifications of changes in the soil there. So I want to thank you for doing exactly what we needed to do, which was understand the geological conditions on which people are coming in to build. But I would ask you if you would briefly, for a moment, talk about how that affects, the competitiveness of these parcels, because you've worked throughout the state.
So when you start having constraints on the site and limiting your developable acreage, it really starts limiting the uses that will site there. So a lot of the business parks we do, we're always aiming for 100 acres, 200 acres, 600 acres to really attract those big players, right? So we have Micron going in the center of the state, so we have a lot of supply chain, and we're always looking for about 100 acres, but to your point, if we're looking at wetlands and the new DEC regulations and the 100-foot buffers, and now we're dwindling it down to, all right, well, maybe I only have about 40 acres that's available. It's really gonna limit, well, not limit, because there's always uses that would look at 40 acres, but it might change your attraction to those certain markets. And again, we can work through some of that marketing. We actually newly have a service in CPL that looks at those marketing demands and those demographics. So we can definitely give you some guidance there. But I would say the main part of this is what we're really taking away is doing the constraints and the conceptual maps, so we know exactly what can fit on that site and where.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be very helpful. You came to us, it was just a little less than a year ago when the state had really begun to release its new plans for the additional setbacks in the wetlands, and we had some discussion. It was really valuable to hear from you as well as for Rob from planning. So you look like you have a question or a comment.
No, I just wanted to comment while we're talking about sites and challenges, where our experience has shown where we have sites that are challenged with poorly drained soils, and everybody focuses on the wetland regulations, but from a stormwater management standpoint, as you have those poorly drained soils, your stormwater management areas are your opportunity for different types of stormwater management types are reduced because you're kind of spreading out more in that stormwater design, and so that's eating up, possibly eating up good land for construction, right? So it's that, as you're taking care of all the environmental aspects, your building envelope starts to shrink. That's just the reality.
Yeah, and we're actually running into a very similar situation. One of our industrial projects, we ran into a perched groundwater situation that didn't show up in the geotech. So now instead of a deeper pond and a smaller footprint, now we have to shallow up the pond and take more of a footprint. So it's the same thing, right? If you can't infiltrate the water back into the ground, you have to store it above your water table, your perched water table, which takes up more area. And when we do these concept maps, we're pretty conservative about the stormwater area. We usually estimate about 25% of your impervious area has to go back into the stormwater storage area. What we found is it's usually about 16, 17, 18%. So we do lay out these pretty conservatively to give us a little bit extra space to deal with those during development. And if anyone's familiar with development, usually they jam pack all the buildings and parking and forget about stormwater. But we're there to make sure that we carve out some area to make that more of a reality.
This is going to be a question for you. Can you talk about like what New York Forward actually covers in a grant? Are they, do you know like how competitive, right? Like how many do they award? Is it a rolling open grant application?
New York Forward, sure, yeah. New York Forward is I would say the light version of the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, DRI.
Yeah.
I think you mean Fast New York.
Oh, maybe
Are you
Fast,
asking
yeah,
about-
sorry, yeah, I mean Fast New York, sorry.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry,
Okay.
that's totally what I meant, yeah.
Yeah, Fast New York is helping to make sites shovel ready. So we could apply for infrastructure grants to address efficiencies in sites. So sewer, water, as we're identifying today.
Is there a town matching component?
Yeah, so I'm pretty familiar with that. We actually work with Christian and Jeff Jansowski, quite regularly. So there's 3 different tracks. Track A is really centered around the state shovel-ready certification, which is really hard to get. So we really focus on track B and track C. So track B is your environmental due diligence, your property acquisition, your wetland, all your physical, we'll call them due diligence, looking for red flags. Track C is really your infrastructure construction dollars. So you're building a roadway for $3 million. I had a conversation with Christian yesterday. We're talking about another project. It's about a 50% match on track B. So if you're going for $1 million project, you know, obviously be putting up 500,000 in that. There is a little bit of leeway, which is what we were talking about yesterday. Sometimes they'll increase the match or increase the grant if they're really behind the project. If it's strategically located, there are some advantages there. On the infrastructure side, it's really a negotiation. So once you get to track C, I've seen up to about 90%. They won't go more than 90% on the grant side to cover your construction dollars. But I have seen up to 90%, but that's really a negotiation again based on location, job creation, etc. So there are a few avenues that we'll want to look at.
And that's a pretty open.
It's a rolling application. I think it's allocated again for next year. We've done. I've done probably 4 or 5 applications. We were successful getting, I think we got 56 million for stamp. We got another about 6 million for Chautauqua County. We're actually getting ready to submit again for Chautauqua County on a 600-acre site. That's probably $1.3 million, just due diligence effort. So, yeah.
Can you use it for demo? Or is it new construction funds?
Depending on probably what you're putting back. Are you like demoing old buildings, etc.? It's maybe, yeah. It's really geared toward what the green sites and infrastructure development,
Okay.
but there may be a reuse component that we can talk to ESD about.
In addition to Fast New York, there's also a new program called Power Up, which is looking at the power side of infrastructure development. And that is starting this last quarter of the year as well. And I think it's going to be a rolling application as well and kind of work hand in hand.
Yeah, Christian gave an update on that yesterday. He talked a little bit about it, not many details out there, but it sounds like a rolling application that they're going to use hand in hand with Fast New York to make sure power is available to sites. As you know, we're, especially on the western side of the state, we're having a lot of issues getting power to sites. And the infrastructure is so costly at $1 million a mile, $2 million a mile, whatever it is, that hopefully this program can bridge those gaps.
There's periodic questions at economic development conferences about loosening some of the co-location cages, if you will. I can't think of a stronger word that's polite, that prevents communities that host electrical generation from getting a little bit of an extra benefit if the facility is set up to allow co-location. And it would, I think, be helpful. It seems that because of our geology, Bethlehem is uncompetitive in certain ways. We don't have 600 acres. I do review the New York Fast Grant Awards periodically, and they do go to the larger sites. This IDA has written letters in support of applications that the town has made to various grant programs. We come to the board, we'll keep coming to the board, and maybe we can think about, in addition to having sponsored the site inventory, ways that we can be more useful to planning so that we can actually secure a grant.
At the town, we've also already started conversations with key people within ESD so they know that this report is coming and they know the work that we're putting into this. And you know, one of the reasons that you see the awards in Fast New York being to these large tracks is because there aren't a lot of communities doing what we're doing and looking at our site inventory, and we're really ahead of the curve with this activity, and ESD is supportive of that.
Okay, that's wonderful to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, and then, hopefully we finish this up. We'd love to be a part of that because this is our bread and butter. This is what we love doing. We've done it in Genesee, Livingston, Chautauqua County. We'd love to continue the process and help you with the applications and answer questions and connect the dots. So.
Let's schedule some time in a quiet meeting to hear from Brianne and possibly Rob about the grant process. Because as you know, we only meet at certain times. We do want a letter to come from the full board. And so that would require some lead time. And also, George, that was great that you raised that question.
So is the goal at the end of the report, sorry, not the goal, is one of the next steps at the end of the report to identify, which of those parcels feels like this has the most potential, and so that's what we begin to push forward? Is it multi-track of like, oh, okay, this has the most potential, so we're gonna go after this grant, but these still need some push forward, so we're gonna work on those at the same time?
I want to acknowledge that it's a real partnership with the landowner, because the town, we don't have control over any of these sites. These sites are privately owned, and it largely depends on what the landowner wants to do with their property. And so it is a partnership between the landowner and then also the town, looking at these different areas. We split it up in the presentation of these different areas, and infrastructure development really is about an area and not so much about a particular parcel, even though we do have to sort of apply that way and look at it through that lens. We really are bringing infrastructure to an area that's going to benefit a group of parcels in each of these locations that we're looking at. So that conversation it has a lot of cooks in the kitchen to figure out what the next steps would be and how we all move forward with that successfully. All of the participating landowners are certainly interested in improved infrastructure in their area.
But I imagine the town doesn't have the resources to look at all 5 of those and add resources to them, right? So you're probably looking to identify.
I can give you an example. Chautauqua County, we did the same thing. We started with 40 sites. We identified 6, and then narrowed down to 3 that we actually are advancing. So the Ripley site is the one that's, we're in design right now for that. And then there's another one coming, 600 acre, that's the next one. So it depends on what the palette is and how much you want to get involved, but they thought a max of 2 at any time to go through the funding and design and worry about the matching. So
I'm going to be way out of school.
Shock.
But wouldn't it seem to me that if there is a step and there's a grant to apply for with a significant matching, wouldn't we have to involve the county in that? Because they got more resources to match than I would expect the town has.
Potentially, I suppose.
Okay.
and that's exactly what Chautauqua County did. They had to get multiple funding sources to cover the match. And, ARPA, whatever the grant sources was, the county is funding a significant part of that directly. So yes, there will be that stage.
Maybe I wasn't out of school.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Because that match is not insignificant. Right? So
It can't be.
yeah. So to really do this, it will take multiple funding sources.
And the zoning, the town zoning in those areas aligns with what the uses that we're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, that was one of our requirements as we flush out the parcels. The zoning was taken into consideration.
And have we been engaged with CEG on all this? Because I know they're revamping the regional plan and everything like that.
Yeah, there's definitely conversations with CEG and with ESD going on already about this work.
Great.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
And the county too. They know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? All right.
Mike, did
Oh,
you?
I'm just listening.
Okay.
But I do know, but you don't have the infrastructure down in South Bethlehem, but there are 3 big parcels down there that are adjacent to each other. I mean, it's got to be close to probably 400 to 500 acres. If that was going, if you're looking for a place for solar, I mean, you would need the infrastructure except for the transmission lines for that. But have they ever looked at that? I mean, you got Bill Banahan's property, our property, Jay Jacobic's property.
We could look at how those played out in the ranking. I think that they didn't,
I think they were in the full universe.
They were, yeah,
And then as Angie mentioned, we pared that down to properties that
right.
have access, maybe they have transportation access already, or maybe they already have water, and so that was kind of the
Right, I
narrowing
think
down of the
they
universe.
already
to-
had even less utility
Right.
access than the ones that we picked.
I think those over there were more transportation challenge, because those roads are farm to market, old farm to market roads that.
But like for a big solar farm, you don't need that transportation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
level land.
Right.
I
But
think
a
that
solar-
this report isn't gonna be recommending solar farms.
Okay, that's fine.
It's,
New York State Farm Bureau was actually starting to question the solar. I mean, originally they were for it because they felt that the farmers had a right to, sell their land or lease their land. But now they're saying so much prime soils are being gobbled up by solar farms. It's a tough call.
I think we're looking at industrial use, because we're also looking at job creation, and we're looking at tax base expansion and all of those good things.
Well, Saybeck and Owens Corning don't actually have mutual, I mean, they don't have public sewers out there. They have their own independent.
Correct.
I love interesting facts about the town that you can. Interesting.
Yes, yes, thank you to our guest for coming. We'll let Andrew go. And Matt, if you want to
Make a break for it.
make a break for it. We don't keep anyone here longer than they need to be. Our next steps will be to move through some of our more ordinary business. Some people are fascinated by the workings of IDAs. I was, for my sins, I asked to be appointed to this one.
And we're
And it's
so lucky to have you.
and it's been a lot of years, so I guess it's not boring. But I think we want to, let's see, we talked about the committees, the meeting dates, the 2026 meeting dates. We've got our, unless, without my reading glasses, I'm missing something.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, our last order of business is adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you, Dick. Okay, all in favor? Any abstaining or wishing the meeting to continue? All right. We are down to 6 members. All members approved. This meeting is adjourned at
53.
8:53 a.m. on October 22nd. We will see you all here again on November 19th, beginning with the audit committee at 7:45 and then the regular meeting.
That'll be our last meeting of the year, probably.
Could be. We'll see. We'll see. All right.